This is one of the most historic sites and interesting sites of the entire Hatfield-McCoy feud. It's the Randall McCoy Well. And this is actually where we're going to end this episode as we get to look down in that well for the first time ever. But we're going to start in Harlan County, Kentucky, as we're going to go deep into a coal mine on this episode of I Want to Do That. In 1917, Coal and Coke Company, a subsidiary of U.S. Steel, built the community of Lynch, Kentucky, then the world's largest coal camp. 1,000 company-owned structures provided housing for people of 38 nationalities. By the 1940s, this mining complex employed more than 4,000 people, both above and below ground. Today, many of the company's buildings, including a tipple and a mine portal, are part of a coal mining museum known as Portal 31. And you can bet we were the first in line when it came time for our tour. Here we go, first time ever inside a coal mine. I can already tell you, we've not in there yet, you want to do this. Much of the narrated tour is spoken through animatronic coal miners who tell the historic story of Portal 31, and it all begins with Joseph in the year 1919.
So many Mama, Papa, Giuseppe, Amelia, they are still in Sicily. I'm afraid I will never see them again. But my darling Maria and the Bambinos, they won't have to live the way we did there.
Better believe we're going to break that streak. You got that right.
By the way, I heard somebody at lunch say that maybe we're done with continuous miner in this section.
That's right, Billy. This section's pretty well mined out, so we're going to move it to number 3 heading tomorrow.
Oh well, our shift's over. The crew in the next tunnel will be up and running any minute now. Time to get going.
At your furthest point into Black Mountain, you reach a room of sorts where you watch a video projected onto a wall of the mine, which tells the story of Portal 31 and those who spent much of their lives there. And that's where our guide, Clay, talked to us about his life as a miner.
I've completed about 34 years of mining experience. I've done several things. I tried my hand at hard rock mining, down in Harlan, where we put the tunnels through the mountain for flood control. And then after that job was over, I migrated to Pikeville, worked for a company called Tico Coal for about 20 years. We had several deep mines and strip jobs. So got a lot of experience with it. I really enjoy this part of it because I get to share that with a lot of people. You're about 1,900 feet underground at this point, and you have right at 1,000 feet of mountain above you. This spot right here is a location where it had fallen out many times, and they've got it secured. The coal actually dropped down in this area, and the roof kept caving and dropping off, and it actually worked out well for a nice spot to have this projection show.
A search for the vast human resources needed to mine the coal would begin as well. Adventurous men who would be a match for the mountain, who possessed the courage and physical toughness required to explore the ancient depths of Black Mountain in the search for coal.
On our way back out of the mine, Clay had one more stop to make and a couple more demonstrations. But I had no idea that I would be leaving Portal 31 with millions of years of history in my hand. Can imagine doing this all day long.
All day long, every day. You've got something in your hand there that's never been touched by a human being before.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's millions of years old.
So I'm going to keep it.
It's all right with me. You can have more if you want.
Thank you.
Let me put you cock it up, run off shovel.
Oh yeah, here. Coming up next, the crew and I seek shelter from a thunderstorm high atop Black Mountain. We have made it to the middle of Harlan County, Kentucky, the town of Everts to be exact, and we have found Dallas with the Black Mountain Off-Road Adventure Area. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is, but it's more than a mouthful to do this adventure area too. We've got home of the Black Mountain Thunder Zip Line. We're opening mountain biking trails really soon, and some of the most prestigious trails is what you would say that they are here, because people come from every state in the United States and 14 different countries has done this off-road trail.
Like recently, what are some of the states you've seen?
Today, we have people from Wyoming and Iowa here today.
On these trails that we're going to hit
on these trails right now.
All right, we're going to do the off-road part, but we're going to key in on this word adventure. You do zip lining. Zip
lining, one of the most pristine and prestigious zip lines in America, because everybody that comes here says, look, this is the best. It's 500 foot in the air, 2 miles long.
Well, hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that when we're going up the mountain.
11 lines, and if it wasn't a storm, we'd do that too. But today, let's get muddy and ride these trails.
There's nothing wrong with a little mud.
That's right.
Well, let's go.
Let's go.
Dallas, I'm glad we got to the top of the mountain before the rain hit, but this is a nice shed to have.
Yeah, we've got these shelters here and there around the park, and some signage that'll tell you storm shelters this way, and we're at about 3,000 feet now, so you know, this is a good place to weather the storm. I don't think it'll last long, so we'll be good.
Now, we're on Black Mountain, and that's kind of how this whole episode is centered around Black Mountain. Either we're going to be underneath it at the Portal 31 mine, and you're going to take us to the top of it.
We're going to take you nearly to the top. The highest point is actually just above the Portal 31 mines at Lynch, Kentucky.
Now, that is the highest point in the state of Kentucky, correct?
4,139 feet, highest point in the state of Kentucky, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's well worth your time to go see that.
All right, so when this rain stops, that's where we're going to go.
That's a good deal. We're headed that way.
That's a ride.
Yes, it was. We can do that all day.
I think we just might. Rain's over there.
Rain's over. We didn't get wet because of the nice windshield and cab we got on this thing.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, because the helmets versus not helmets and what the rules are.
If you have a roll cage, we don't require a helmet. You notice the trails that says seat belts required. We do require seat belts on a lot of trails.
Okay.
In town, you can ride on any blacktop within the city limits. They do require a helmet regardless of the machine. No matter what, you got to have the helmet in town.
We stopped down in Everts before we came up here. And it was neat to be able to see a four-wheeler going up and down the road, and nobody thought anything about it.
And people really like that. Folks from all over the United States come here and they say, hey, this is, we should do this at home, but you know, they have no trailhead, so they probably can't do it. But it is pretty good. Go get ice cream or whatever.
Gas stations,
yeah,
food.
Gas stations, food, the whole thing.
telling you, we tested the Viking out today in some tough, muddy circumstances, and it did well.
Yeah, it has really impressed me today on everything with the full skid plates. It didn't bottom out on anything, and the suspension was great. Third row seating gave you a lot of room for the elbow space between two people, where you got the room for the third person, so I'm really impressed.
That's something new that Yamaha did this year. I mean, you had to retire the Rhino, which was the 2-seater, but the Viking's 3 seats.
Yes, and it's only like 2.5 inches wider, I think is what it is. But I mean, as you've seen today, that didn't stop it. It's doing great, so we're proud to have it and call it ours.
You know, my favorite part was holding on to the bar that comes out for the passenger, and it was comfortable. We had no issues.
Right, I mean, Yamaha thought of everything when they built this one, so we got to give them credit on that and go with it.
All right, well, it looks like you've got to go to a car wash.
Looking that way.
Well, I'll let you go spray this thing off. I'm going to take my muddy self over and tell Dallas bye before we leave. That was fun. All I can say, Dallas, is thank you so much.
Thank you folks for coming.
We have had a great day here.
We've had a real good time with you folks, especially the Yamaha Viking there. It's probably the first one that's been on the park. It's going to be a dandy machine for somebody.
It absolutely is, and thank you. It was a little bit of, we had some rain, we got a little bit of mud on us today, but hey, I wouldn't have had it any other way.
That's off-roading. We got about 200 miles of trails here. We covered, what, 20 miles or something there, and we had a blast doing 20 miles. That's better than a good day on the couch.
Absolutely. Hopefully we're going to send a lot of people your way, because they're going to want to do this.
Sure, they'll come here, we'll make them welcome.
Coming up next, we're headed back to Pike County, where we're going to explore a little Hatfield-McCoy history. Several significant events during the world's most famous feud happened in Pike County, Kentucky. Of course, I'm referring to the Hatfield-McCoy feud that began in the mid-1800s. Many of those sites are located within walking distance of each other in downtown Pikeville. One of the most visited sites in Pikeville is the historic Dills Cemetery, located on the hill above the Cloy Red Lights. There you can find soldiers' graves from the Revolutionary War, French and Indian War, Civil War, Spanish-American War, and World War I. But this cemetery is most famous for being the final resting place of Randall McCoy, head of the McCoy family, his wife Sarah, and their daughter Rosanna. The Hatfield-McCoy feud actually made it all the way to the Supreme Court, where it decided that 8 members of the Hatfield clan would be tried at the Pike County Courthouse after being arrested in West Virginia and transported across state lines. 8 Hatfields were convicted of murdering Alifair McCoy during the New Year's Day attack on the McCoy cabin at Hardy, Kentucky. 7 of them received life imprisonment, but the 8th, Ellison Cottontop Mounts, was executed by hanging. That site is located on Kentucky Avenue on the campus of what is now the University of Pikeville. Thousands attended the hanging, but Cottontop Mounts was secretly buried. That location remains a secret to this day. But one grave we can visit is that of Perry A. Klein, whose portrayal in the History Channel's miniseries upset several people, including local historian Reed Potter.
I make sure that I take tourists to Perry Klein's grave because in the miniseries they make Perry Klein out to be this villain.
They do.
It's really silly. I don't know why they did that. There's so much drama in the feud, you don't have to have that kind of character. There's enough villains in it. But Perry Klein was a very achieved man. He was elected High Sheriff of Pike County, even though he was born in West Virginia, when he was 25 years old. Imagine that today, a 25-year-old winning as Sheriff of Pike County. And then he goes on to later become an attorney and gets involved in the feud and is hired by the Hatfields, first the McCoys and then the Hatfields, as an attorney during these very important trials. And then he also becomes a state representative. So at the time of the feud, he's our state representative. He still has family here in town, and many people know that Klein name. He had a very famous descendant that also was involved in the feud. That was John Sink Klein, and he has a granddaughter still living here in town.
The granddaughter of Perry Klein that Reed Potter just referred to is Martha Ridner. She still resides in the very house her grandfather built in downtown Pikeville. And we are going to get her opinion of just how she felt the miniseries portrayed Perry Cline.
Most of my family were upset at the way our grandfather, Perry Cline, was depicted in it. But he was only 42 though when he died. But now that business in the History Channel about him courting Roseanne McCoy was not true. Roseanne was, a cousin. And she did come and stay with them a couple of times. She helped take care of the children one time. All the children, all 8 of them, had measles, and she came and stayed with grandmother and grandfather, and helped with them. And then after she had the baby by Chauncey, and when the baby died, then she came and stayed with them for a while. He was grandfather, from all I can gather from what the family said. He was really, 3 things were important to him: education, God, and family. Buddy, you went to church every Sunday or else. And he was very much, into that, and he was very much into education.
When we come back, we're going to visit the site of the infamous New Year's Day attack on the McCoy cabin, where we've been granted permission to explore a place that no one's ever been. A year ago, I interviewed Bob Scott on his property in Hardy, Kentucky, the site where the McCoy family cabin once stood, and I have wanted to return ever since. National Geographic show diggers had just filmed an episode there and found several artifacts from the cabin, along with actual bullets fired the night the McCoys tried to defend their home. But nobody has ever looked into the McCoy well until today.
Well, Bob, this is the well.
This is the real McCoy.
Where, we just said, can you imagine, you've had 2 McCoy children that lost their lives right here.
Yes, ma'am. Alifair and Calvin lost their lives here on that New Year's event. And, we're actually looking at the real McCoy well, the actual water they came to every day to get their drinking water, their bathing water, whatever it may be.
And there's no telling what they may have dropped over the years in this well. And I've rigged up something, we've got, of course, our camera, and we've got a light that we're going to turn on. But I went ahead, and ahead of everything, we've got a pretty powerful magnet.
Okay.
So we're going to feel and kind of see if anything, if it attaches to anything, or if there's something bigger than it'll pull up, we'll know that. Let's go see if this well will stick. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to pull hard, or there's something on the bottom of this magnet. Oh no.
Just released.
It did release. But let's at least look, and maybe we have a piece of whatever it was. Whatever it was, our magnets just aren't strong enough. Let's see what we got. Could you see it when it let go?
Oh yes, you could definitely tell the difference.
I don't know that we have anything attached, but something down there grabbed onto the magnet. Look at that. What?
Yeah, well, something's pulled.
Just some sediment that's definitely attached to the magnet, but
whatever it had a hold of,
it let go.
It's just releasing it.
And look at this, though. You can imagine there's a lot of sediment down there.
Sure.
We've just got to get a stronger magnet.
We just don't have enough
So,
horsepower to get it out.
if we come back with a better magnet, can we do it again?
We sure can.
Thank you.
Shannon, thank you.
You know, you're not going to convince me that there's not something speaking to us from the bottom of the well that literally was on the end of our magnet, but we didn't have a strong enough magnet to pull it out. But you heard it right here that Bob has given us the invitation to come back. So we may do another episode of I Want to Do That right here at Randall McCoy's well. Wow, what an episode. And it seems like more and more lately, every time we do an episode of I Want to Do That, I say, this has been my favorite yet. And I'm going to say it again. This is my new favorite episode of I Want to Do That. And I've got a friend of mine here with me, Neil. We've known each other for quite a while now.
It's been a long time. Listen, I've seen you do some pretty precarious stuff. You're almost like the Turtle Man of Pike County.
Yeah, except I have all my fingers and toes.
There you go. He does too. But listen, you guys do some incredible stuff. And I love that well episode.
I know. Can you imagine? You know, looking down into a piece of history, this episode was special to me because we mined a piece of coal. I got to touch a piece of coal that nobody's ever touched ever. And it's history. And there's so many things that are right under our nose.
Why is it, Shannon, the last thing you'll experience is something that's right in your own hometown? You just overlook it.
I know. Have you all done that? I mean, you all do a lot of what you do on your show right near where you live. Have you ever had that experience when you go, why have I never seen this?
Experience things for the first time. The most important thing about your show is that I want to do that.
What do you, all right, tell me one thing of all the episodes, what do you want to do?
My hands down favorite, smallmouth fishing. I've got to do that.
We will make sure we hook you up.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for talking to me this morning. I miss you, I don't see you enough.
Oh, we got to make it happen. I'm going smallmouth fishing, and I'm going to catch my first 20-inch smallmouth right here in Pikeville.
And what Neil's talking about is one of the episodes we did right here in the city of Pikeville. And any of the episodes that we've done on I Want to Do That, and you look back and you think, I want to do that, go to our website, ekbtv.com. All you have to do is click on the I Want to Do That logo, and you'll get behind-the-scenes photos, email addresses, websites, information from any of the people that we visited right here on I Want to Do That.